Hello, welcome or welcome back to Life as Is. I am your host, Maddie Walsh, and this is a podcast in which we have bite-sized conversations on all things self-improvement. Hello, welcome back to the Life as Is podcast. This is episode 6, and it's been a while since I posted an episode. I think a little over 2 weeks. Anyway, we are back, and I wanted to talk about authenticity in this episode. It's been on my mind and my heart, and it's been a theme in my life lately, so I wanted to talk about it. Authenticity to me is what I call integrity to the self. Being true to yourself, your wants, your needs, your values, in a world that might mock them, deprioritize them, or make it difficult for you to maintain them. So doing what you want to do, doing what feels good, expressing yourself how you want to, doing what's best for you and best for the situation in your opinion, regardless of what other people think about it. And authenticity can have many different facets. You can be authentic in terms of your values, so what you think are the most important things in your life and how you prioritize them. I think you can also be authentic in your hobbies or creative endeavors, so what you choose to do with your free time, what you create, what you try out, things like that. You can also be authentic in your career or your pursuit of money, so what you choose to do for work or how you choose to make money. You can also be authentic in your personality and how you show up for yourself and others. So how you act, the things you say, the way you say it, how you treat others. And lastly, you can be authentic in your expression or maybe your fashion. So what you wear, what your house looks like, how you decorate and organize your spaces. I think authenticity is particularly interesting because there are some people out there who I feel have just been authentically themselves their whole life. From birth to adulthood, I know people who I see and I just go, wow, you have never been anyone but yourself. Like you have never faltered on your authenticity for anything. And that is so inspiring. So if you are one of those people, congratulations, you are rare. However, for a lot of us, that is not the case. For a lot of us, we are the product of the environments that we are placed in. So we might feel like a certain person and then get hit with the pressures of the world around us to conform, to change, to constrict, etc. Especially for women, we get told at an early age exactly how to act, how to dress, how to sit, how to talk, and how to present ourselves. So as adults, it can be hard to find our way back to who we really are as a person and operate as that person instead of the person that the world around us has pressured us into being. And so that's the journey that I'm on right now and have been on for quite some time as a young adult. Part of it is getting back to the person or almost the child that I was before life took over and I kind of shape-shifted to fit in. But also the other part is creating myself with more of a, I want to say like present focus lens, because when it comes to figuring out who we are, we don't always have to necessarily find her or bring her back, but we can also create her. And so I'm going through this shedding of doing what I think is the right thing or what I think I should be doing based on the normal track that people go on in society, etc., and leaning more inwards and asking myself, kind of for the first time in my life, what do I really want with my life? And what do I want it to look like? Who am I? And with that, I have also been noticing in more detail, or you could say more color, when other people in my life are not living in that space and are doing things to make them look a certain way or trying to be people that they're not, projecting their own insecurities, etc. So I wanted to have this conversation today with the disclaimer that I am no expert on this. I am most definitely still learning, but it has been really liberating so far to start prioritizing what I want and leaning into the space of doing what I want, regardless of how it looks or what the world thinks. And it sounds really cliche, but life really is too short to be anyone but yourself. So I want to share a little bit of my journey with you, as well as give you somewhat of a framework to use and some questions to ask yourself. And hopefully it can help you and inspire you to live a more authentic life wherever you are in life. I'm in my mid-20s, so I think this is one of the more predictable times that someone might be thinking about this as they navigate the world as a young adult. But you can reevaluate your life and work on making it better at any age. So I think this can apply to anyone, regardless of who you are, what you're doing, and how old you are. So let's get into it. Okay, so I want you to start with thinking about when was the last time you did an audit of your life? That you asked yourself, what do I want my life to look like? Am I happy with how my life looks? Am I happy with how my life feels? You'd be surprised how little all of us actually sit down and have this conversation with ourselves. I have heard stories of people in their 60s and 70s just having the conversation with themselves for the first time and immediately realizing that the first half or so of their life was just lived because that's what they were told to do. That was socially acceptable. It pleased others, kept the status quo. And they never questioned themselves about what they actually wanted or what they would choose if they felt they had the freedom to. And I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for you either. So this is where we will all start. But also, if you are in your 60s or 70s or later, the best time to do this was yesterday, but the second best time is today. We can always reimagine our lives and make it better regardless of what stage of life we are in, and I truly believe that. So if you haven't had this conversation with yourself yet, or it's been a while, that is okay. We'll do some of the work today. Authenticity starts with getting to know ourselves. And I've learned that we spend so much time with ourselves, like our whole life with ourselves, but a lot of us really haven't gotten to know ourselves. We think that because we are always in our skin, that we don't need to do any deep diving, that we obviously know how we think or feel, but in reality, knowing ourselves and who we are, it does take some work. It takes some intentionality in the same way that we would need to exercise if we were getting to know someone else, asking questions, observing behavior, etc. So let's go over a couple ways to get to know ourselves. One is to think about or assess your top, say, 3 or 5 values. You can find a value list online. There's a ton. I'll also drop a link to one of them, the one that I use. I'll drop it in the show notes. This step in and of itself can be difficult because when was the last time you really actively and consciously thought about your values? Like, if you're listening to this, then you are probably somewhat of a self-aware person who wants to become better, but unless you are a self-improvement obsessed, like, guru, most of us don't constantly think about and or write down our values. But I think this is really important because it makes them real. It brings them to the conscious mind so that we can evaluate them and evaluate how our life and the way that we're living it actually matches up with them. It also begs the internal conversation. When we choose our values, where are they coming from? Are they maybe from our parents and we don't necessarily feel that way anymore? Or are they from what society made us think our values were supposed to be? So try to really look internally and think, if the world and society and the people around me supported my value choices no matter what would they be? Some of my top values that I've chosen from the list are joy, honesty, humor, peace, and love. But I also have other values on that list that are super important to me too, like growth, compassion, purpose, curiosity, freedom, balance, fun, etc. So I encourage you to look at the list that I dropped in the show notes or find your own online and go through the exercise of choosing your top 5. Maybe explaining why, maybe picking some things at the bottom of your list and explaining why they're at the bottom. The second way to get to know ourselves is to ask ourselves some fun questions. For example, if money were no object, what would I do? If everyone around me approved of and praised my choices at all times, what would I wear? Where would I live? What would I say? What hobbies would I have? What would I enjoy? What business would I start? How would I spend my time? Things like that. These are also very good journal prompts. If you want to go back and listen to the episode that I did on journaling, you can incorporate some of these prompts into doing some journaling. Another way that I want to talk about getting to know ourselves is answering the why questions to the current life that we live. Why am I wearing this? Is it because I like it and it makes me feel good? Or is it because it will impress someone else or allow me to fit in? Why do I have this career? Is it because I'm passionate about it and I like showing up to work? Or is it because it is the stable career that the world tells me that I should have to be successful? So this will start to allow you to poke holes in the things that you do that you don't feel are authentic to you. Because a lot of times we go on autopilot and just pick a route in our life and then choose the next thing and the next without being super intentional with our personal reasoning behind it. So this will kind of bring that to light and give us some insight as to why we are choosing the current things that we're choosing. And these why questions can also unlock and illuminate what's called our limiting beliefs. And I want to eventually do a full episode on limiting beliefs at some point because there is so much juice there. And working on my limiting beliefs has really improved my life. But essentially, crash course, limiting beliefs are the stories that we tell ourselves about our life and our capabilities and our values that keep us living in an inauthentic way. So, for example, for me, one limiting belief that I had was that I couldn't quit my job. I couldn't quit my job as a government attorney because what else would I do? I got my law degree and I passed the bar exam. I have a law license in this state, so I can only be a lawyer. I can only work as an attorney for the rest of my life. And I have since learned that that is not fact, but it's just a story that I told myself, a belief that limited me and the possibilities for my future. So asking ourselves why we are doing something or why we aren't doing something, it brings those limiting beliefs to the forefront and allows us to kind of investigate them and figure out where they come from and if they are valid enough and or based in reality enough for us to rely on when we make important choices about our lives. Okay, once we have kind of learned a little bit more about ourselves, then we turn to our current life and how we are living it. And it's important to note that with this exercise, we're talking about what we're doing right now, not what we plan to do in 6 months or 2 months or even next week, not what we want to do but are just waiting for the raise or the permission to do, but what we are doing right now. This is radical and extreme accountability as to our lives as they are currently. So when we think about the values that we talked about earlier in the episode, we're now going to think about the parts of our lives that align with these values. For example, if curiosity and open-mindedness is one of the biggest values in your life, are you teasing your brain at all? Are you teaching yourself new things? Are you learning new things? If, say, connection is one of the biggest values in your life, are you living your life in a way that nurtures your relationships? If joy is a value, are you truly happy with your job? Are you getting joy from your job? And also with this, we can start to think about the facets of our lives that conflict with the values that we chose? Are we dating someone who does not bring us joy or stability or does not make us feel safe to explore new hobbies or learn new things? Are we not passionate about our job and we're just doing it for stability when our values in the earlier exercise ended up being spontaneity and curiosity and joy and passion rather than security and stability? Moving on to the fun questions that we asked ourselves earlier. If money were no object, what would you do, etc. Now we start to think about what about these answers can we actually incorporate into our life? Because those answers can give us insight into what actually makes us feel good and not other people. Maybe getting a nose ring, or wearing less or more makeup, or dancing or horseback riding, even though you're a total beginner and it's scary. Get in there and try it. Why not? Who cares? Again, life is too short to not go after the things that you want and are curious about. I think about deathbed Maddie a lot, maybe more than the average person, and I want to make her proud. I want her to look back at her life and say, oh my Lord, I tried this and I got into this kind of trouble. I built this skill. I traveled the world to these places, and I did it all because I wanted to, and it made me happy. I didn't hold back about expressing myself and learning the things I wanted to learn and trying the things that I wanted to try. I just lived life full out, and I don't have many regrets. So think about the answers to those fun questions and reevaluate if they are just for fun and for imaginary you who loves to dream, or if any of them can be realistic. Because I'd bet some of them can be realistic, and you are the only person holding yourself back from turning them into reality. Maybe not all of them to the craziest extent, but maybe some of them to some degree can be incorporated into your life. Look at those answers and truly ask yourself, not rhetorically, but literally ask yourself, why not? And lastly, with the why questions that we asked ourselves, why are we in this job? Why are we doing this, wearing this, etc.? Use those to audit your current life. So when it comes to the answers that you are doing it for anyone other than yourself or any other reason than the fact that you want to, think about why you would want to keep that in your life and what you can do to, maybe if you can't completely get rid of it, change it in a way that is more aligned with what makes you feel good. Or flat out drop the things that you were able to drop if they don't have a good enough why behind them. And before I leave you, a couple more things. For me, one of the biggest hurdles to being authentic and living an authentic life is worrying about what other people think of me. As I got older, and I think I've talked about this in a previous episode, but as I got older, I got smaller in some regard in the way that I lived my life. I didn't speak up as much. I didn't share my opinion. I thought that if I didn't exist and didn't take up any space, then I could not be criticized and people couldn't have anything bad to say about me. But I am slowly learning, and there's a difference between agreeing with something and knowing it to be true. So I am slowly coming to really know it to be true, that people are going to talk their shit regardless. People are going to say what they want to say and have their opinion about you no matter what you do. There is absolutely no winning everyone over because you could be the juiciest, ripest peach, and there will still be people out there who do not like peaches. So with that in mind, it is futile to try to get everyone to like you. All you are doing is betraying yourself in that way. So I'm working on right now doing what I want and saying what I want with the knowledge that people are going to judge me. They're going to disagree with my life choices. They might think I'm weird, crazy, whatever. But what I think is truly crazy and insane, though, is living a life for the approval of other people instead of your own approval. I'm getting to this place, and it feels so good to say this, where I am really thinking about what I want over what other people will approve of and what society says is the right path. There's there's a liberation that comes with the knowledge that people are going to judge you, because it makes you realize that there is no point to doing anything other than living for yourself. If people are going to judge you no matter what you do, why not go full force for the life that you want? Why not try the thing that you were a total beginner at or rusty at? Why not speak up for people and speak out about the things that you believe in? Call people out when they do something hurtful. Why not live your life the way that feels best for you? Life is too short, like I've said, and what else are we here for other than to soak in the human experience, to try things out, to get to know ourselves, to experience joy? Life is too precious to spend time doing things that we don't want to do and doing things that don't feel like us. So in conclusion, I am really excited to be on this journey because I don't want to leave this earth regretting the choices that I made or didn't make, wishing that I would have cared less about what other people thought and just went for my dreams and aspirations. I want to live a life that serves me and brings me joy and wonder, curiosity, growth, connection, and I want to live it right now. So, cheers to being bold and living our life as ourselves, not trying to be people we aren't or fit into boxes that don't work for us or only serve other people. My challenge to you this week is to get out there and do something that feels authentic to you, big or small, and let people think or say whatever they want. All right. That wraps up episode 6. Thank you for listening to Life As Is. If you enjoyed yourself, please follow the podcast wherever you are listening. Download the episodes, leave us a rating and review if you feel so called to. And if you are listening on Spotify, feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts about this episode. See you in the next one.